Back to where it all began. Matt Holliday was drafted by the Rockies in the 7th round of the 1998 draft. Now his son, Ethan, drafted 4th overall by the Rockies. Ethan Holliday actually bigger than his brother Jackson Holliday. Jackson 6 foot 185, Ethan 6'4", 210. Jackson was selected 1st overall by the Orioles in 2022. So that takes us to this. The Holliday brothers are the 3rd pair of siblings drafted in the top 5 over the last 30 MLB drafts. The Holliday bros joining the Young and Upton brothers, and Dimitri and Delman, their nephew is in this draft as well. He's a beast. He could be drafted later on this night. And a great day for families here in the MLB draft, and a heck of a day for the Holliday family. Now Ethan, the latest to be drafted 4th overall to the Colorado Rockies. All right, back here at CBS Sports HQ, MLB analyst Chris Welsh and national college reporter for Baseball America, Jacob Rudner. Jacob, this just felt like a perfect fit, right? Because if he doesn't go 1 or 2, he's going to the Rockies at 4, where Matt Holliday, his father, was drafted in 1998.
It's poetic, isn't it? And I do think that this is a really great pick for them as well. They're getting a guy who's very polished and compares well with any hitter in this draft. We just talked about how Cade Anderson was arguably the top pitcher in this draft. For me, Ethan Holliday is the top bat. He's got a clean, powerful left-handed swing. I don't necessarily think he sticks at shortstop long-term, just because the athleticism isn't necessarily what you would expect for somebody to play that position in this modern era where shortstops are these bigger, very athletic players. But he's outstanding nonetheless. I really do think that he's going to be able to hit, and you get him out into Colorado, and that is especially the case. The power plays for that ballpark. He's got great feel to hit. He's a mature bat for a high schooler, just like his brother was. And I think that this is a pick that's going to allow them to move him reasonably quickly for somebody who's on the younger side. Again, very much just like Jackson, that family's development is outstanding out in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and the Rockies got a great player.
And I think also what the Rockies are going to get is a face to the organization, because that is what they are missing. They have swung and missed, unfortunately, in free agency. Chris Bryant didn't end up getting to be that, but you can also see the path of what they're doing. They're targeting some players that have some volatility that can thrive there. Charlie Condon last year. Charlie Condon has had some mixed reviews, even though he just played in the Futures game. It was a rocky start with a lot of the off-speed stuff. There's questions about the hit tool. And it looks like things are starting to develop on a team that isn't really known greatly in circles with their player development, but they've got this player with huge upside that plays to their home environment. And that is a little bit in the same vein of where Ethan Holliday is. There's some people that have questioned maybe the overall hit tool, not the power. This is some of the best power in the draft, high school or college, but the overall hit tool and his ability to make contact consistently. But that's something that obviously they'll work through in the system, and they're hoping that this can be a guy, him, Charlie Condon. These are the new faces of the organization moving forward. So I absolutely love this pick. This pick was a match made in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, one of the tough things about Colorado is getting pitchers to go to Colorado, right? In the free agency market, no one wants to pitch in Colorado. Everyone wants to hit in Colorado. And, of course, Ethan Holliday going to play the infield. And as you said, Jacob, this is a great have a face of your franchise, right? To come in and, hey, let's get guys to come to Colorado, because right now this franchise is in disarray. They're not sure what their identity is, and you get a guy like Ethan Holliday to sort of resuscitate your franchise. You get the Matt Holliday to come out to Colorado. You get that family to be a part of that franchise, and now that signifies a huge change there when you take Ethan Holliday. When you look at his ability at the major league level, and you've seen Jackson develop at a very nice rate in Baltimore, having a great year so far this year. When you look at Ethan, where is he going to stack up against his brother? Because he's always going to be compared to him.
It's hard to say. You know, I think that they're different players. Ethan is a little bit more of a power swinger. He's a bit more aggressive at the plate. Their discipline is somewhat comparable. I think that Ethan is a very polished hitter as well. You know, exceptional plate discipline. He draws his walks. But again, I think that they're very different. You know, Jackson's going to provide for the Orioles a little bit more bat to ball, whereas I think that Ethan is going to provide for the Rockies a little bit more thump, especially in that ballpark. So, you know, they're similar players. There's a reason they were both, you know, top of draft conversation guys. I think it'll be competitive, which is exciting between the two of them to see which pans out better, but they are on different tracks. And so it's hard to compare this early on as to who's going to pan out to be what. But at this stage, I think that they're quite different offensively.
And, you know, at the end of the day, if the Rockies, if their motto is going to be, if you can't pitch them, hit them, that's what they're going to end up doing with these guys, you know, bring in these big bats. And these are two very different players. A lot of people have said, you know, that Ethan Holliday comps much better to his father than Jackson would have. And that's just like what we're talking about here, in that, you know, the power is going to play. You're hoping you're going to have a little bit above average on the batting average side. In the comparison, it's just going to be a very interesting thing long term, because they're both probably going to provide very different skill sets. Jackson Holliday does provide the potential for a high batting average, probably a lot more stolen bases. We might see some video game numbers from Ethan Holliday in Colorado, especially as he continues to learn. We mentioned just a very smart family. They've got a whole hitting facility at their home as he's continuing to learn to optimize his max EVs and launch angle and being able to pull the ball. Colorado is just going to be a really big benefit, but two very different players, and the scale of comparison is going to be just on another end.
I mean, living up to Jackson is one thing, right, Jacob? Living up to your dad, Matt, who was an NLCS MVP, 7-time All-Star, got him to a World Series. They lost, but, like, this is a legend that you're going to try to follow. And I know it's your father, and you hear the stories, and you see the clips and everything like that. This is going to be a lot of pressure on Ethan Holliday. You say, yeah, he's going to be the face of the franchise, and all the time we ask how much pressure. He's going to be under a ton of pressure to produce and make the Rockies relevant, because right now they're not.
Yeah, we can look big picture like we've been talking about. As you just said, that is an organization that has a lot of work to do to get back to a point where it's going to be relevant again and competitive. And so when you draft a guy in the top 7 picks, and he's somebody with the pedigree that he has, both in terms of his brother and his dad, and you add in the history that family has in Colorado, of course there's pressure on him to be able to succeed. Now, one thing I think is important to add, it is a little bit different in baseball than, say, if this was a conversation we were having about a football draft pick whose dad played in a certain city and had the same kind of history and pedigree. There are, you know, more years in between when Ethan Holliday is going to have to perform, most likely for the Colorado Rockies, than if he were a football or basketball player. So that does help alleviate some of the pressure. There will, of course, be lots of eyeballs to see how a top pick who's going to make millions of dollars to sign a contract with the Rockies performs. But I do think that will help kind of tamper some of that. The space between when he was drafted and when he has to actually go do it at the major league level. But of course, there's no denying that this is a pressure pick. It puts him in a situation where you have to go be successful effectively because of your dad, because of your brother, and just because of the overall draft type. I would tell you the same thing almost if he was just Ethan Holliday by himself and picked where he was at number 4 overall to the Rockies. So there's pressure associated with the pick and a little bit extra for this guy.
And the pressure is really fascinating. I'll do us one better. I will ask him because, again, I live out here in Arizona where they play complex ball, and that is where Ethan is going to come. He should probably be here within a week of signing. Once he's signed up, he'll be out here. And I've seen the Colorado Rockies, they bring most, if not college or high school guys out here. And I think that is the big question. Not that he will have necessarily an answer at this point, but there is a lot of relative pressure put on. But I think this is a good move for the Colorado Rockies, who do struggle with some of that player development, to get a guy who's far away. Charlie Condon, they're going to just kind of let, you know, simmer a little bit as well, and let them try to build up some of these players. No rushing, because this organization isn't going to win tomorrow. They've got a little ways to go. They are trying to develop some pitchers. Chase Dollander was a prime example of that. They've got some other great minor leaguers out there. This organization, they're not on the finish path, but they're on the starting right path, and Ethan Holliday is a big piece of that.
Yeah, either way you look at this pick, this is a win for the Holliday family. I mean, biggest winners, when we do that at the end of the night here, Holliday family will be among the biggest winners. I mean, this is incredible, right, Jacob? I mean, three people in your family drafted to play Major League Baseball. This is a win. So celebration, cheers to the Holliday family, as Ethan is the latest to go. He goes 4th overall to the Colorado Rockies. And a pretty special moment for that family. Look, there's a chance that one of these days we look up and we go, oh, who went in the 2025 MLB draft? And you go, oh, Ethan Holliday was 4? Man, I'm surprised he didn't go 1 or 2. And I know it's 4, but you're like, sometimes you look at a draft, you go, wow, that guy was 6th. He should have been 1st or 2nd. Potentially, maybe, but again, he's going to a franchise that's got a lot of work to do. But the Holliday brothers making history, the 3rd pair of siblings drafted in the top 5 over the last 30 MLB drafts. The Holliday bros joining the Young and Upton brothers. And as I mentioned, Dimitri and Delman Young, they have a nephew. His name is Quentin Young. He is a top 40 draft prospect, so he could perhaps hear his name tonight. So a big night for the Young family as well.